I'm Jo Fry, and this is my channel Jojo Fry Rocks. And I'm just going to make a really super quick video dressed as, I suppose, one of my favourite 80s pop/rock musicians, which is JEM from JEM and the Holograms. I was thinking the other day, actually, when I did my video about my musical influences and journey, that actually one of my very, very earliest memories of sort of being influenced by music was actually of watching the cartoon JEM and the Holograms. There was just something so captivating about it, and obviously it was beautifully drawn and illustrated, you know, but just the ideas of these girls who they kind of formed a band because it's a very convoluted story. It's actually quite a complex cartoon. I'm not sure what actual age group it was aimed at. But I could have only been 5, 6-ish when it was on, when I remember watching it. And yeah, it's quite a strange setup and quite convoluted. As I say, it's about two sisters who are orphaned for some reason. And their father was a sort of head of a record company, who for some reason have this supercomputer called Synergy, which is able to project holograms, like so realistic and lifelike that if she projects the hologram onto someone, then they appear to be somebody else, whilst actually still maintaining their own facial features. Yeah, I'm not sure about where these ideas came from. Anyway, it was fascinating to me as a child that you know, and there was also this kind of foundation, this kind of orphanage for girls. So Jerica, who's the main character, Jerica Benton, and her sister Kimberly, sort of live in this orphanage, but it's a mansion. So they're fantastically wealthy, and they also run a record label. So Jerica, in her day job, runs, like, has taken over her father's business, but the computer Synergy is able to change her into a holographic rock star called JEM, who is the front person of JEM and the Holograms. And she does this by kind of, she has these magic earrings, which when she touches, she can contact Synergy, and Synergy can change her between Jerica and JEM. So just that kind of main story in itself is quite kind of complicated to understand as a child, but still, I mean, they looked amazing. Like, they all had like amazing makeup, hair, like all different coloured hair, kind of pink, purple, blue, everything. They were kind of like sort of glam rock, but also kind of pop, because all kind of 80s new romanticism kind of and new wave stuff was also coming into it, I guess. But at the same time, there was a rival band. The antagonists in the cartoon were a band called the Misfits, who were signed to a different record label, and this record label was kind of in competition with you know, with JEM's record label. So they were kind of painted out to be like the bad guys, and the band were called the Misfits. and they were clearly the better band. Like, they were like 100 times better. Like, JEM's music, while she was actually quite a good singer and their image was great, their music was a little bit soppy and kind of lame compared to the Misfits. The Misfits were way more kind of punk rock and super cool, and they had like Pizzazz, who was their front person, and she had green hair. They were much more aggressive, much more punky. Their guitars were cooler. And yeah, I was just absolutely in love with this show. You know, I know they were supposed to be like the bad guys, but I was always kind of rooting for the Misfits, if I'm honest. Even though I loved JEM, I still love JEM. And I kind of thought about it for two reasons, really. It was because I left it out of my video about my musical influences, like just for some reason forgot about it. Also because I have bought a mini Squire Strat for my daughter. It's her birthday very soon, so she's going to be 7 in the next few days, and as a surprise for her, I bought her this amazing pink mini Squire Strat, and I just thought, you know, I better make sure that it's all in tune, and I better like make sure it all plays properly and everything. And so yeah, I was just gonna have a little play with it and just make sure it's all okay so that she's not like disappointed on the day. And I plugged it in, and honestly, it's so cool. It just rocks. It absolutely rocks. It's the best Strat. Like, it's just so stratty. It's the strattiest Strat ever. I absolutely love it. So it's gonna be a bit of a challenge for me to actually give this to her and let her have it and play with it and sort of keep my hands off it, because it is so cool. I'm just in love with this thing. So I thought, you know what would be a brilliant reason to make a video with it? I can use it as JEM's guitar. So anyway, so that's what I've done. And I just happened to have this costume. I didn't buy it specially. As I've said, I am a massive fan of the cartoon JEM and the Holograms. And a few years ago, one of my friends, because obviously we're all the same age, I think it might have been a good few years ago, might have even been, could it have been his 30th? No, must have been later than that. But anyway, one of my friends had a fancy dress party, and the theme was any character from any 80s film or TV show. So that was the reason why I got this costume. And yeah, I've kept it because why not? And you know, I really don't have the heart to get rid of it. So yeah, I just thought I'll do a little video all about how much I love JEM, and the fact that it was actually an influence on me growing up. You know, when I was a kid, it definitely fed into my sort of, you know, love of 80s pop music and rock music, and I suppose dreams of playing the guitar, and being, you know, and singing and kind of being in a band, because that's what these characters were doing. And it's really cool that the whole show was almost entirely sort of female characters, really. You know, the male characters were kind of either fairly lame, again, like JEM's boyfriend Rio. I never thought that much of him, really. He's all right, he's okay, but you know, he is definitely a kind of secondary thing. and you know, she has this whole kind of complicated relationship, because it's that whole kind of Superman, Clark Kent, Lois Lane thing, but in reverse. So it's kind of, you know, I think he's meant to be Jerica's boyfriend, but really he's kind of in love with Jem, but it's the same person. Again, like, I'm not sure how you were like really meant to understand that as a kid. I understood it, but it seems very sort of like an adult theme in a way. But yeah, it's that kind of superhero thing, isn't it? The double identity thing. And that's a kind of theme that runs throughout the show. But yeah, Rio, he's a little bit lame. And then there's Eric, who was the manager of the Misfits, and he's a bad guy, like, without doubt. You know, he's just a bad, unscrupulous, sort of greedy kind of guy who is very sort of self-centered and, you know, wanting to kind of push his band and his label, and yeah, he's just like a corporate guy who's got no morals, and you know, he's, yeah, so he's kind of very much a secondary character as well. All the stories are all really centered around these female characters and the rivalry between the Holograms and the Misfits, and you know, it was just really refreshing, I think, at the time. Like, when a lot of the cartoons and stuff that were on television were either things like kind of Transformers, you know, robots from space that transform into vehicles. I think quite sort of squarely aimed at boys, if I'm honest. I mean, probably some girls liked it, I guess, because we all like different things, but you can kind of tell who these things were aimed at. And obviously everything about 80s cartoons was based on marketing toys. So, of course, I had the JEM dolls. I had all of them. You know, I had JEM, all the Holograms, all the Misfits, and all the kind of accessories and stuff that go along with it, and the clothes and everything. But that only, I think, you know, that only sort of continued to like feed into my kind of feelings about being a musician, wanting to be in a band and everything. So, you know, there really is some truth in kind of, you can't want to be something if you don't see yourself sort of projected into that role. You know, you need role models, and I think JEM and the Holograms were actually really good role models. And I can only, you know, I can only feel sad, really, that there isn't anything like that today for children. There isn't really anything that I can think of anyway that fulfills the same thing for my daughter, which I'm a little bit sad about. But, you know, I do show her old episodes of JEM and stuff, so hopefully she gets it. But anyway, you know, maybe something will come along in a similar vein sometime. But, you know, I don't think things are too bad, given the fact that when my daughter was at her holiday club the other day, she said they were doing karaoke as one of the activities, and I said, "Oh, what song did you sing?" Kind of thinking, "Oh no, it's going to be Olivia Rodrigo or Taylor Swift or something." Anyway, she said, "Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds." So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm worrying about nothing. Anyway, hope everyone's having a really good summer. And yeah, see you soon. Cheers.